Oh, the humans. Those wonderfully terrifying creatures that somehow managed to stumble their way into the Galactic Federation while carrying enough hidden weaponry to make a Chronaxian war chief blush. And the best part? They don't even realize it. First Officer T. Lara of the Diplomatic Corps still remembers the day she had to process their application for membership. The memory makes her secondary heart flutter with both amusement and residual terror. What do you mean you carry percussion-based repair implements as standard equipment? She had asked the human representative, Ambassador Sarah Chen, who was cheerfully displaying what she called a basic maintenance kit. Oh, you know, Sarah had replied, casually swinging something called a hammer through the air, just the essentials. Hammer, screwdriver set, wrench, pliers, basic stuff. T. Lara's antennae had twitched violently. The hammer alone was essentially a refined war maul, capable of delivering devastating kinetic energy to any point of impact. And the human was treating it like it was some kind of toy. But that was just the beginning of what would become known throughout the Diplomatic Corps as the Toolkit Incident. Professor Vex Thor, the Federation's leading xenotechnologist, had been called in to evaluate the human tools. His report, now legendary among Federation academics, read like a horror story disguised as a technical manual. The implement designated screwdriver. He wrote, his usually precise handwriting notably shaky, is effectively a precision stabbing weapon. The humans have various sizes and types, presumably to optimize penetration depth and damage patterns. They claim this is for turning screws. But any species advanced enough for space travel should have long since developed magnetic manipulation tools. The report only got more alarming from there. The wrench appears to be a modified war club, designed to apply focused rotational force that could easily shatter exoskeletons or crush vital organs. The pliers are clearly descended from ancient torture devices, capable of gripping and tearing with terrifying efficiency. But the real kicker came during the practical demonstration. Sarah had been showing off how to fix a standard atmospheric regulator when Ambassador Click's Tal of the Arachnid Consortium had finally broken down. By the eternal web, you're using a thermal manipulation device designed to melt metal, he had chittered in panic, all 8 eyes fixed on the soldering iron in Sarah's hand. Sarah had just blinked, looking genuinely confused. Well, yeah, how else would you join 2 pieces of metal together? Through molecular bonding fields. Like any sane species, Click's Tal had practically shrieked. The meeting had to be temporarily adjourned when Sarah pulled out something called duct tape and half the representatives fled the chamber in terror. The remaining delegates watched in horrified fascination as she demonstrated its uses, which apparently included everything from emergency hull repairs to improvised restraints. It's not even technically advanced, Security Chief Blasnik had muttered, his scales turning a pale shade of green. It's just sticky. Really, really sticky. They put adhesive on a cloth backing and created something that could immobilize most species in the Federation. The humans, of course, found the whole situation hilarious. Captain Marcus Wong of the Earth ship Innovative Spirit had nearly fallen out of his chair laughing when told that his ship's maintenance crew would need to be registered as a potential military force. Wait until they find out about WD-40, he had wheezed between fits of laughter. The Federation still hasn't worked up the courage to ask what that is. The classification committee had a nervous breakdown trying to categorize human tools. Were they weapons? Construction equipment? Medical devices? The humans seemed to use them interchangeably for all 3 purposes, often in ways that made other species question their sanity. Take the incident on Space Station Gamma 9. A routine maintenance check had turned into what the humans called a MacGyver moment when engineer Lisa Rodriguez had fixed a critical life support system using nothing but a paperclip, some chewing gum, and what she called a Swiss Army knife. A device that had the weapons classification board in therapy for months. The humans have created a portable, collapsible multi-tool that combines 23 different potential weapons into a package smaller than a standard data pad, the classification report stated. And they give them to their children as camping accessories. The Federation eventually had to create an entirely new classification category, human basic equipment handle, with extreme caution. It was the only way to process the paperwork without technically declaring every human maintenance worker a walking arsenal. But perhaps the most enlightening and terrifying moment came during a cultural exchange program, when a young human child was asked to explain their favorite tool. Oh, that's easy, 8-year-old Tommy Baker had said, holding up something that made the alien observers flinch. It's a spork. It's like a spoon and fork together. You can eat soup and stab things. The observer's report noted that the child's cheerful expression while describing a multifunction stabbing scooping weapon would haunt their dreams for cycles to come. The humans, meanwhile, continued their merry way through the galaxy, fixing things with their tools in ways that seemed to defy both physics and common sense. They introduced concepts like percussive maintenance, hitting things until they work, and the universal repair sequence. Tighten, loosen, hit with hammer, apply duct tape. The Federation's psychological evaluation team eventually concluded that humans had developed such an intimate relationship with tool use that they had literally forgotten these items were originally weapons. Somewhere along their evolutionary path, they had looked at their arsenals and thought, hey, I bet I could build something with this. This revelation led to the creation of the now famous human paradox protocol, which states any human tool should be assumed to be simultaneously a weapon, a repair device, a medical instrument, and a children's toy until proven otherwise. Approach with caution and a sense of humor. Sarah Chen, now the head of Human Federation Relations, still keeps that first toolkit mounted on her office wall. It's labeled as Exhibit A: How Humans Accidentally Terrified the Galaxy with Basic Maintenance Equipment. The plaque underneath, written in both standard Galactic and English, reads to fix or to fight. That is not the question, because humans will definitely do both. T. Lara, who has since become one of the strongest advocates for human integration into the Federation, often uses the Toolkit Incident in her lectures on interspecies relations. The genius of humans. She tells her wide-eyed students is not that they turned weapons into tools, but that they never saw a distinction between the two in the first place. In their minds, anything can be a tool, and any tool can be a weapon. But most importantly, everything can be fixed with enough creativity and the right equipment. She pauses here, her antennae twitching with both fondness and residual anxiety. Just, never ask them about something called a power drill. I made that mistake once. Once was enough. The human maintenance crews have become legendary throughout Federation space. Other species request them specifically, knowing that no matter what breaks, a human with a toolkit will find a way to fix it, even if their method looks more like combat than repair. The Federation's emergency response manual now includes a special section titled In Case of Human Repair Techniques, which basically boils down to clear the area, don't ask questions, and remember that no matter how much it looks like they're attacking the equipment, they probably know what they're doing. Probably. The latest addition to the human tool controversy came when a Federation anthropologist discovered something called a kitchen utensil drawer and had to be sedated after realizing that humans keep an entire collection of cutting, crushing, and impaling devices in their food preparation areas. But how do you prepare meals without them? Sarah had asked the recovering anthropologist. With sonic preparation units and molecular gastronomy fields, like civilized beings, had been the shrill reply. Sarah had just shrugged. Sounds boring. Wait until you see what we can do with a wok and a good chef's knife. The anthropologist had to be sedated again. These days, the Federation has largely come to terms with human tool use, in the same way one comes to terms with living next to an active volcano, with a mixture of respect, fear, and the knowledge that it's better to have them on your side than not. The official Federation handbook now includes this warning for new species encountering humans for the first time. Do not be fooled by their cheerful demeanor and apparent fixation on repairing things. Every human carries with them the potential for both creation and destruction, often in the same device. And they switch between these modes with alarming casualness. The good news is that they're far more likely to fix your problems than cause them. The bad news is that their solution may look alarmingly like an attack. P.S. If a human ever offers to show you their complete toolkit, politely decline, unless you have a very strong constitution and excellent health insurance. And somewhere in the galaxy right now, a human is probably fixing something important with what appears to be a weapon of war, while cheerfully whistling and thinking about what to have for lunch. Just another day in the Federation. The humans themselves remain blissfully unaware of the panic they cause. They're too busy inventing new tools that will undoubtedly give the classification board even more headaches. Latest reports suggest they've developed something called an impact driver. The Federation's Tool Classification Committee has preemptively requested a larger budget for therapy sessions. The saga of human tools took an even more interesting turn when the Federation discovered what humans casually referred to as home improvement stores. Admiral Kavax nearly suffered a complete neural shutdown when he realized these were essentially massive warehouses filled with potential weapons, freely available to any human who wanted them. The security report he filed was marked Urgent Civilization Level Threat. and included no fewer than 12 exclamation points, a first in Federation documentation history. They have entire buildings. He wrote, mandibles quivering, dedicated to the distribution of industrial-grade equipment. And they let their juveniles wander the aisles. There's something called a chainsaw that, I can't even describe it. The specifications alone violated 16 different weapons treaties. The Federation sent their top anthropologist, Dr. Meera Patel, herself a human, chosen specifically because non-human researchers kept fainting, to investigate these home improvement stores. Her report was both illuminating and disturbing. Yes, humans have created vast repositories of tools that could theoretically be used as weapons, she confirmed via quantum link. But you're missing the point. Yesterday I watched a retired grandmother spend 3 hours debating which power drill would best help her build a treehouse for her grandchildren. These aren't arsenals, they're toy stores for adults who like to make things. The Federation Council had to take a brief recess to process this information. Meanwhile, the situation got even more complicated when humans introduced their concept of DIY do-it-yourself to the galactic community. The idea that individuals would choose to repair and build things for recreation caused a fundamental shift in several species' understanding of sentient behavior. You mean to tell me, Ambassador Xylophone? Yes, the humans had a field day with that name of the Crystalline Collective had asked during a cultural exchange, that humans deliberately seek out broken things to fix. For fun. Oh yeah, responded Mike O'Brien, a self-proclaimed weekend warrior from Dublin. Nothing better than spending Saturday in the garage fixing up old stuff. It's relaxing. The ambassador's crystalline structure had vibrated in distress. Relaxing? You find wielding thermal lances and kinetic impact devices. Relaxing. Well, sure. Here, let me show you my angle grinder. The ambassador had hastily excused himself before Mike could demonstrate, leaving behind a small scatter of stress-fractured crystal shards. But perhaps the most alarming discovery came when the Federation's cultural analysis team stumbled upon something humans called YouTube DI channels. They make entertainment out of tool use, reported senior analyst Zip Axe, their tentacles curled in disbelief. They compete to find new ways to employ their devices. In the comments sections, by the cosmic egg, the comments sections, millions of humans arguing about the proper way to deploy their equipment. The discovery of life hacks nearly caused an Interstellar incident. The idea that humans actively sought new and unintended uses for their tools sent the Federation's classification committee into a complete meltdown. How do we classify a species that looks at a high-powered cutting tool and thinks, I bet I could open a can of food with this, demanded Chief Classifier Bloop 7, who had chosen their own name after watching too many human cartoons. They're not just weapons that became tools, they're tools that can become anything. The situation reached new heights of absurdity when humans introduced the concept of tool hacks to the galactic maker community. The sight of a human cheerfully demonstrating how to turn a simple wrench into a makeshift emergency thruster control had several Jovian engineers questioning their career choices. But what about safety protocols they had demanded? The human demonstrator, one Jorge Martinez, had just grinned and pulled out something called safety squints and mother-in-law approved grip strength. The Engineers Guild filed a formal complaint, which was later withdrawn when Jorge's improvised repair saved a Jovian luxury liner from an unfortunate encounter with an asteroid. The Federation eventually created a new academic field, human implementation studies, dedicated to understanding and predicting how humans might repurpose various technologies. The field's first paper was titled From Weapon to Weapon Again, the circular evolution of human problem-solving devices. The paper's conclusions simply read, we give up. Just ask them what they're planning to do with it and hope they're in a good mood. Even the militaristic cracks Nor Empire, known for their extensive weapons programs, found themselves baffled by human tool use. Their attempts to classify human maintenance equipment as weapons kept running into the problem that humans had already thought of more dangerous applications than their weapons specialists. They call it a reciprocating saw, one cracks Nor analyst had reported, but they use it to prune trees. They take a powered blade capable of cutting through metal and use it for gardening. The Federation's attempt to regulate human tool use lasted exactly 3 days before it was abandoned. The problem wasn't just the impossibility of classification, it was that humans kept finding ways to make tools out of the regulation equipment. They weaponized the forms we gave them to register their weapons, whispered a shell-shocked bureaucrat. They turned them into paper airplanes, very pointy paper airplanes. But these days, most species have adopted a live and let live approach to human tool use. The general consensus is that it's better to let humans fix things their way than risk them getting creative with even more basic materials. As Sarah Chen likes to say in her diplomatic briefings, the good news is, give a human any tool and they'll find a way to fix your problem. The bad news is, give a human any tool and they'll find a way to fix your problem in the most terrifying way possible. The Federation now maintains a special advisory board dedicated to answering just one question: what are humans going to do with tools next? So far, they have a 0% success rate in their predictions, but a 100% rate of being amazed and terrified by the actual outcomes. And somewhere in the depths of space, a human is currently looking at a piece of advanced alien technology and thinking, I bet I could fix that with a paperclip and some bubble gum. The galaxy holds its breath, both dreading and eagerly awaiting what happens next. Latest update: the Federation has just discovered something humans call jury rigging. The emergency response teams are on standby, the psychologists are booking extra sessions, and the humans, they're just getting started. Remember, reads the latest addition to the Federation's first contact protocols. If you see a human approaching broken equipment with a determined look and a toolkit, either evacuate the area or prepare to witness either a miracle or a disaster. Usually both. But perhaps the most legendary tale in the annals of human tool use came during the Great Rigelian Crisis of 2847. A critical quantum stabilizer on the Rigelian homeworld's atmospheric processor had failed. The entire planet faced potential atmospheric collapse within hours. The Federation's finest engineers were stumped. The technology was ancient, complex, and completely integrated with systems that would take weeks to safely power down. Enter Janet Murphy, a human maintenance worker who happened to be on planet fixing vending machines. Have you tried hitting it? She'd ask, pulling out her trusty rubber mallet. The Rigelian chief engineer, all 17 of their eyes widening in horror, had started to protest. But the atmospheric alarms were screaming, and they were out of options. What followed would become known as the Murphy Miracle: 23 minutes of what appeared to be complete chaos, involving 1 rubber mallet, 3 paper clips, a roll of duct tape. Something called WD-40 finally revealed to the galaxy, much to everyone's confusion: half a pack of chewing gum, a spare hair tie, and what Janet claimed was the right amount of percussive maintenance. The Federation's Technical Analysis Committee spent 3 years studying the footage, trying to understand exactly what happened. They eventually concluded that Janet had somehow bypassed 7 fundamental laws of physics, created 3 new ones, and possibly invented a new form of quantum mechanics, all while humming Sweet Home Alabama. The stabilizer not only started working again, but showed a 15% improvement in efficiency. To this day, no one can explain why, and Janet just shrugs when asked about it. Simple, really, she always says. Everything's got a sweet spot. You just got to find it and give it a good whack. The incident led to the creation of the Human Emergency Response Tool Team HERT, a special unit of human maintenance workers who are called in when all other options have failed. Their official motto: if it's broke, we'll fix it. Somehow. Their unofficial motto: hold my coffee and watch this. The mere arrival of a HERT team on a station or planet is enough to send most engineers running for their observation bunkers. Their success rate, however, is unmatched, even if their methods are unconventional. As one Zentaurian observer noted, they achieve the impossible through means that should be impossible, using tools that shouldn't work that way. It's terrifying. It's beautiful. It's human. The Federation eventually gave up trying to understand human tool use and simply added a new protocol to their emergency procedures. Try standard repairs. If standard repairs fail, try advanced repairs. If advanced repairs fail, try experimental repairs. If all else fails, find a human with a toolkit and don't ask questions. The galaxy has learned to accept that humans will always find new and terrifying ways to use simple tools. They've learned to appreciate that behind every human carrying a wrench is a problem solver who will find a solution, even if that solution looks suspiciously like controlled chaos. And so, as humanity continues to spread throughout the stars, they bring with them their toolkits, those wonderful, terrifying collections of objects that blur the line between creation and destruction, between weapon and implement, between the possible and the impossible. The Federation's latest psychological evaluation of human tool use concluded with a simple statement that has since become famous throughout the galaxy. Humans don't see tools or weapons. They see possibilities. And that, perhaps, is the most terrifying thing of all. Epilogue: The Federation recently discovered human children's building toys called Lego. The subsequent report was simply a series of exclamation points followed by a request for early retirement. As for Janet Murphy, she's now teaching a class at the Federation Academy called Creative Problem Solving. 101 attendance is mandatory. Stress counseling is provided. And yes, everyone gets their own toolkit at graduation. The galaxy will never be the same. And that's probably a good thing. Final note from the Federation archives: if you see a human approaching a problem with a determined gleam in their eye and a toolkit in their hand, there are only two appropriate responses. Get to a safe observation distance. Prepare to witness the impossible. Because one thing is certain: whether they're building or breaking, fixing or fighting, humans with tools will always find a way. Even if that way involves duct tape, WD-40, and what they cheerfully call percussive maintenance. The Federation has officially classified human ingenuity as a force of nature. It's the only classification that made sense,